How many are new here? Oh, good. I can use the same spiel I've done for the last 3 years. You'll have to listen to it. It's like a bit of a history lesson. First of all, what you're looking at right now is a battle that we're putting on. There was no actual battle here at Backus Mill. The reason for it, there was 3 reasons you'll hear from different people. Some of the people in Port Rowan will say that Mr. Backus dressed them up in red blankets and coats and stood on the shore so that Lieutenant Campbell with his troops that came down would think that they're redcoats here. Another person will say, no, Mr. Backus set a big haystack on fire and sent runners to tell the Americans no sense coming here. He's already burned his mill. Well, if I built a mill that big, I sure as heck wouldn't burn it. The other reason we think is the real reason is that Lieutenant Campbell was a member of the Masonic Lodge. And so is Mr. Backus.
That's what they told us.
They have a rule that you do not harm another Masonic member or his property, or you're in big trouble. That's why I think they never attacked. But you have to imagine that the Americans came across the lake. They stopped at Patterson Creek, which is the mouth of the Lynn River. They turned right and went into Port Dover and burned it to the ground except for one house. Because she was baking pies and she bought the soldiers off. I'll feed you if you leave my house, and they did. They went to Port Ryersey. They burned all of the buildings in Port Ryersey except for Samuel Ryersey's house because he had over the doorway the Masonic symbol. Then they got back on the ships and decided to come down this far. And then the men were very upset because at that point the American soldiers were just fighting British soldiers, but they were forced to go in and burn civilians' homes and kill the animals, and that was against their nature. So they were very upset with Colonel Campbell. So at that point he decided to head back over the lake. He got in a lot of trouble for that, and people say that's what led to the British saying, okay, you want to fight a guerrilla war? We're going to go along the coast and we're going to stop in Washington and we're going to burn your White House.
Yeah, baby.
So if you ever come across an American and he's talking about the War of 1812, tell him without the War of 1812, you wouldn't have the term Uncle Sam, you wouldn't have a White House, and you wouldn't have the American National Anthem, which, by the way, is a British drinking song. Okay, what we did yesterday, the Americans came down and they tried to burn the mill and the British repulsed them. Yesterday afternoon, the Americans came up through the village on the far side, the native village, and drove everyone out of the village. Now it's payback time. So we're hoping that the British can get the village back so that every year when we finish, we have it back in British hands. Okay, a little bit about these reenactors. This is their hobby. They go and they research everything. They make sure they get the right proper material to make the costumes or outfits. They make sure they get the proper accoutrements that they need. And instead of going golfing, they go and play war. Some of these reenactors have been doing it for over 30 years. And they'd love to have you come up and talk to them and ask them questions about why they're wearing this or what they're wearing that. History is very, very interesting. Well, we got a few minutes. I'm going to talk about the women. I love talking about the women in the War of 1812 because people think there wasn't much. Well, let's suppose you lived in England or Ireland and you decided to marry a fella and he enlists. Well, first thing's going to happen, he's going to go down to the dock to get on board boat, and the officers will choose which women are coming along. And they usually take one woman for every 10 men in the Army. So if you have 750 men in a regiment, you're allowed to bring about 75 women. And all they would do is stand there and point out, I'll take you, I'll take you, I'll take you, I'll take you. And the rest of you, here's a chit, which is like taxi fare, go home. So now you're going to get on board and you're going to come out in Army life. What's Army life like? Well, first of all, if you have children, they're going to feed your husband, then they're going to give you half of what he gets to eat, and then for each child they'll get half of what the woman gets to eat. Your privacy will be a tent wall, or in the barracks, you will have a bunk bed and you'll be able to hang a blanket over top of it. This was your privacy. If your husband is killed, you have 48 hours to get another husband or you're kicked out of the Army. They can't afford to feed you. If you decide you want to get married, you have to get permission from the colonel. Well, if people get married, that leads to children, that leads to more mouths to feed, so he may not give you permission. So the way you could do it is, if you look at the Forbes barn, that would be the size of a barracks. So what you would do is take your betrothed's hand, put a broom down in front, you both jump over it, and in the eyes of everybody in that room, you're married. Your husband sleeps in a bunk bed with another fella, head to foot, so if they have bad bad hygiene. You can imagine you're smelling all night long. So you get up for guard duty and you go outside. Your son gets off the floor because he's sleeping on the floor. He jumps in your bed. Hopefully he'll keep it warm for you. And then when you come back in, you throw the little waif back on the ground and you get back into your bed. I always tell, we got any school teachers here? I got one or two, yeah. Don't invite me to talk to your kids because you know what my favorite thing is? You want to learn about barracks or about War of 1812? Take on a project called Barracks Life. Go home and tell your parents you invited the whole block to live in your basement for a week. The kids screaming, the dogs, and the drunks, and everything like that. So that's what they would live to. So you would be in that barn. You would have probably about 50 families living in that barn, that size. So it was very hard life for a woman, but heck, you want to have a woman because if you get hurt and the surgeon comes, all he does is cut off limbs. Maybe your wife can fix that. There was a couple of stories that I like to tell. One lady, her husband died, so they were burying him, and they yelled fire, and they fired over top, and then she walked to the front gates, and the man ran up, and he said, "Will you marry me?" And she started to cry. Now what did I say? I've already promised to marry the guy that yelled fire. The other one is the family was coming across on the boats. The sergeant wrote in his log, "She's the most ugliest woman I've ever seen. She smokes and drinks and sweats just like a man." Her husband got fed up and he jumped overboard and drowned. So he said, "What am I going to do in 2 days when they get back here? Her and the 4 children, I'm going to have to kick out the army." The next day, he writes in his diary, "She's found another husband." So he's come to the conclusion that there's a man for every woman in the army. So what you're seeing right now is the British Indian Department and the Native Allies decided to come down and try and get the village back. The Americans have the village right now, and they've got the cannons. Now, none of the natives and the militia who are now coming in as well, they were militia fellas or ordinary fellas that were with the Indians. They don't like artillery, because that cannon's going to start firing cannonballs at them. Then they're going to fire grape shots, a golf ball made out of metal, and then they're going to shoot canister at them. So they're going to stay long away from them. So they're basically bothering the artillery right now. The artillery thinks that the British looks like it's coming from your right. But also, yes, it's noisy, so I advise you to take appropriate measures. These cannoneers, when they follow special procedure, because if you're not careful, you can blow your hand off. Just when they thought the British were coming from your right, look to your left, there's a few British redcoats called lights, and they're coming around the carriage shop, and they're going to hassle them for their so they're going to hassle them as well.
More bullets.
Notice all the smoke. In a battle, there's so much smoke with thousands of muskets going off, it's hard to see, it's hard to hear. So you have to listen to it's unusual for a unit to turn around and fire in the smoke and then realize that the guys are on their side.
Yeah, he's really good actually.
The muskets that they're using are smooth bore. They're only good to kill up about 50 yards to 70 yards. Anything beyond that, they're lucky if they hit it. So the object was close your eyes, pull the trigger, and if we shoot it somewhere down there, hopefully we're going to hit something. Now these are the lights coming out on your right. They fire in twos. They're working twos as opposed to the regulars, which are in a light capacity. British soldiers should be able to fire 3 times a minute. They have to fire in volley, or they're fire in will. But they're only good for the killing range. Now right now they're in killing range. You look at the British soldiers, they're too far away. They're not going to hit anybody. Now it looks like the Americans are being surrounded because they're getting hit from 2 sides. They're not sure where the main attack is going to come from. Is it going to come from their right? Or is it going to come from their left? We're going to try and keep them off. Now it looks like they're decided, well, we're going to flank them. We're going to go around and see if we can get into the cabins, because there's women in there, and there's American women up in the army, and they're looking at, wow, let's do something and get some of the women and whatever else we can get, because they like to take home souvenirs too.
Yeah, you can see. What do you see? You see red coat? Americans are down there.
If you're working on a cannon crew, usually you are earplugged or something around your head, because it wasn't unusual for you to come away deaf after several years of firing in our
Yeah, a lot of them there.
Looks like the lights have pulled back on that side. So now the British Indian Department, they're moving out. They're going to stay away from those artillery pieces. Here we go. Now they're in to get the women or whatever else they can find in there. Hopefully they'll either get them, take them back as captives, or they can trade them with the officers if they can.
When you die, you just lay there. Yeah, some of them get tired or their bed doesn't work and they just die. Because their gun won't work anyway.
Amanda told me that. She's like, if your gun just ever doesn't work, just die.
Yeah.
Just put your gun down easily and there. And then if someone else my gun won't work. So I'm checking to be dead.
Gunners are way up at the top there. The
Yes,
gunners
I
are
have
not hanging around. You see those natives come around. There's a pair of red long guns on the line here. I imagine by the end of the day there'll be so many holes in it. They won't be good for winter time.
No, continue.
You can't go out there. Sorry.
Yeah, she's telling you.
You'll get trampled on. You know how tiny you are? They'll run you over. And then we'll have a shoe marking baby.
You don't want boot marks on it.
True that.
Very hard to hang on to. It's so hot. They're pouring black powder down a heated pipe, so they have to be very careful. Now the British regulars are now coming down the road. They're going to try and ram their way through, see if they can break the American line up there. The Americans are pulling back to one. They want to make a stand at the schoolhouse. They can hold off the British. British fired out in Parley.
Down there.
Fire.
See their heads move.
Right now, the killing right. Now, these buses will miss fire at times because when you hit the powder in the tank can get wet, the touch hole can get plugged. They have a reason, so they can miss 3 or 4 times. So it wasn't unusual to load your musket and you pull the trigger and nothing happened. But because it was a set load, it didn't happen so far. So you impact, point to the enemy or close your eyes, pull the trigger, and if we aim in the right spot, we're liable to hit somebody. And if we hit enough of them, maybe they'll back off and leave. Now, as I said, with women, you'd want to have a wife there because if you were shot on the battlefield, the musket ball would go in and blow apart the bone. There'd be nothing to reset, so the surgeon would then take it and cut your arm off.
Yeah.
They're down there, fire come out of this thing, but there's no noise.
Didn't charge. I guess that can happen.
As you can see, the British slowly closing the noose on the Americans. Putting on pressure on all three sides.
They got the
Now, if you look closely at the British, you'll notice that they're wearing sideburns. No, they're not Elvis impersonators. They drew these things called mud chops. When the man next to you overloaded his pan, the flame would shoot out and burn the side of the hair on the side of your face. So they grew these things called mutton chops to protect the side of their faces. We now have flash guards we have to use, so we don't have to worry too much. One day I was throwing my sideburns, my friend trying to be Elvis Presley. I said, I'll save them all tomorrow.
Cigarette there.
I don't think Sparky would do that too long.
No. We have no problem with our dog, but taking her fireworks too, she's alright.
Sparky would hear the screaming, and he knows what the screaming means. In danger, help him. So he'd be like, protect, yanking, and expecting to know that Amanda does it. Yeah, he think it's her, and he'd run and push on Amanda.
The shepherd of the lab.
Trying to form square.
My family had a German shepherd lab mix, and then my parents still have our lab mixed with Jack Russell. Now he's a really smart dog.
Megan's mom was over here. Megan's with us also. And then there was Adam, Ashley, and all of a sudden we heard his door slam, and there was like 5 houses down, and there was this girl like screaming. So Sparky turned and like started barking, and then Adam stood up and
My group I like to point out is they're wearing blue backpacks and they're dressed in green. They have top hats with a green band around them. Those are the trainers.
so
A fellow by the name of James Wilcox. He was a member of the provincial legislature and he was a protege of General Brock. When General Brock was killed at Queenston Heights, he decided we're going to lose, so I'm going to the American side. So they would go through the villages and point out where the
all
villagers
the
lived and
guys
burn their houses to
Adam
the
was
ground.
Matt and on his mom.
He was killed at Chippewa. So we got rid of one of them.
Like, I'm trying to hold it off. Rush after one of the guys. The guys are like, and when it hit him, and then
And we want the dog getting mixed up. Even out of protection if the dog bites.
because it was different too, so he didn't know who's who, and it's who's ever moving.
Oh, okay.
Walk out of powder.
I know my parents' dog usually bites the fish on the bottom. I don't understand.
Sparky was
Here comes the natives now. They snuck around behind the school. They're taking the cannon, and I think they're going to take anything else they get. So I'm not surprised that the school marm is right now.
But you have to bite down, it's supposed to be smell the next hold until your owner starts like that. So you could hold it there until it talks to you, and then I just go, and you let go, and you top it.
Nice. Oh, this guy sure looks like
Natives have abandoned the battle. They're they're having more fun looting than shooting. They're going in and around and seeing what they can take with them.
Sorry.
Oh, now they're in the schoolhouse. We hear any screaming. We know where she's going.
Well, that's a good thing.
Now they got the school marm now.
Struggling and they have my mouth covered, and you can see my arms going like this. He still knows just to sit there and bark. Because if I go like this,
They'll be
he
coming
knows
back.
to go for the legs because I'm in front.
Good.
And I'm like, he's such a good shot.
At this point, the Americans realize the Navy will continue fighting, so they usually call for a parley. And that's when the officers will come out on the field and they'll discuss, can we leave honorably, or are we going to fight to the death? Or what kind of concessions will you give to you? So the British officers may demand them to lay down their arms. They may demand them to become prisoners. So they're doing a parley right now, gives them a bit of a break. The one in the no, get the laundry. Well, it looks like the party's so it looks like the battle's going to continue a little more.
I think they're over here with the First Nations.
Kill them all! Kill them all!
Lunch, get back.
Hey, wait. We can't see if I'm I think they're redoing the same batch. Or maybe not, because they got more. It's like you said, it happening over here, it's happening over there. But yeah, it's kind of got
Look up to the sky.
they're headed back to camp.
Stay over there. I stayed over there and said,
Everybody.
that's not how you do it.
Just goes in opposite.
Yeah, one of those things is kind of like just screaming. You're getting out of
We have a surgeon going around checking to see who's dead and who's not. You'll be getting a scalpel out later on.
I'd rather be dead than that.
With the tomahawk up there.
Come behind. There's one still. Really battle axe.
You're all dead. I did
Now the British Army's going to push them right back into Port Royal and get them on the ship and tell them to go back where you came
they
from.
actually hide in the trees. Usually there's another group over here in the trees, but usually it's Caldwell Rangers and nations that are smart don't line up and say, shoot. Know where we're headed, so
I'd be the sneakiest thing ever. You'd be like, where is that, like, even if I knew, where is she? I'm hiding.
It's about time we
You
give
can't
them a
find
big
me.
cheer. They got the village back. Let's hear it.
Tomahawk.
Does that mean they killed Remember? I am So glad I didn't stay.
Yeah, they're getting pretty close. They're building a barricade or something. It's really nice. Great.
You see the British are checking the Americans for money. I mean, why not? The exchange rate's bad now. We might as well get some of their American money.
Yeah, the British pound's still stronger.
You may have seen a few months.
You lose one day. He's coming.
Skoda.
Boy, it was neat picked off. One year we had a couple of young ladies in period costume run on the field as scavengers. They grabbed this American soldier and they stripped his pants off him. Then they took his musket and ran off. And I pointed out to the crowd that I've seen a lot of 1812 boxer shorts, but not those. They had red hearts on them.
Run up.
All right, we've got the village back now. I've got to ask you on the count of three to everybody yell, the dead shall
I
rise.
was kind of up.
1, 2, 3.
The dead shall rise! Yeah!
Shortly after we get started, there'll be a kids' mini militia right here at the barn where the children can sign up to become a soldier. They'll get a certificate. They'll get paid 5 cents because that's what the soldiers got, and they'll get to start the game. So we'll be doing that shortly.
Hear that,
If
Dylan?
you've enjoyed this, my talk,
You can sign up.
Howard, if you didn't, it's Stephen Harper.
Children's militia. Great short
Welcome to visit.